What's up guys, and welcome back to the channel. In today's video I am heading to the local Sheetz, which is the only gas station near me with E85 Flex Fuel. This is going to be my second time filling up the GTR ever since going to E85. I am on empty, my range is flashing. We have 34 miles on the range left, although it is flashing, and we're literally on the E, although the gas station is right there. So we're gonna fill it up and see what the new blend is. I've been currently running on a 55% blend of ethanol, just because I had about a quarter tank of gas when I filled up for the first time. And then we will see with this new gas fill up, now that we're pretty much empty, we're gonna see what kind of percentage we have. And then also on top of that, I'm gonna talk about tuning the transmission. That is the main part of today's video, because I did have to adjust the transmission a little bit because it wasn't really shifting optimally and it wasn't basically as good as it could be. All right, so I have made it. We're running on fumes almost. I'm on 54% ethanol content. And as far as gas mileage goes, let's see what I've been at. So 13.6. If you guys remember in the first video when I filled up this car with E85 for the first time, I believe it was 16 or 17.6. So we've lost about 3 miles per gallon. I've gone 228 miles on this tank. So not really too bad as far as poor gas mileage like I was expecting. This tank is a blend of highway. I'd say about 100 miles was actually on the highway, and the other bit of that tank was definitely me ripping it like crazy in this car. So kind of a blend of different kind of driving. All right, so from practically empty, $38, that was 16.3 gallons at $2.33 a gallon. I believe from empty, it's normally about $43. So $5 savings overall, not really too crazy. All right, so we got a full tank of gas. I'll go ahead and reset trip A so we can see what the new tank of gas is. And I will go into info as well, and we'll adjust this one as well, resetting fuel economy. So we're up to around 64%. Hopefully it goes up just the slightest as we continue to mix all the gas. Let me go ahead and show you what I've done. So with this Cobb access port that I have, this one is designed to actually adjust the TCM. So if I come out of here and go to my tuning, you can see we have ECU map, and then we have TCM map. So I've downloaded the TCM tuning on the car, and then you can see all the different maps that come up for my actual car. The one I'm driving on right now is the VDC off LC5 Cobb optimized shifting. So that is what I'm running on the GTR. And to be quite honest, it changed the car a lot. It made it much more enjoyable and a lot better shifting the way this car is set up. And then on top of that, there's one more thing that I adjusted. You can do TCM service. In here, I did the touch point adjustment. So I checked out some forums, and it looks like putting this up to about 4 or 5 for the clutch capacity is going to be ideal for an E85 setup, because it looked like a lot of people had some slipping issues with the clutches. These ones I'll keep at 0. And then if I'm taking this car to the track, if I adjust them up to around 7, that seems like it's optimal for an E85 car hitting the actual drag strip. That way there's going to be a little bit more pressure on the clutch plates, and I think that's going to do a much better job holding the gears. And anyway, yeah, let's slap on the GoPros, drive around, and talk about how much better the car is now that I've tuned the transmission to handle the added power of E85. So to now talk about the transmission and what has changed running this map on E85. So the cool thing is, right now I'm in just normal everything down on my 3 different modes down here. And it is much more aggressive in normal mode, which I really like. It's not crazy aggressive. And actually 2 years ago, I tried some of the different tuning for the transmissions, and I didn't know which one I was picking, and I hated them. They were way too aggressive. It was like I was in race mode just around town. It wasn't fun. But what I like now, I can actually put the car into save mode, and it's now usable. Before, save mode I would never use because the car just felt so sluggish and there was no point. It basically just made throttle response non-existent. But now using save mode, it's really cool because I can get up to speed. It's still going to be a conservative throttle response, but it shifts a lot quicker. We're already in 4th gear, 5th gear, and 6th gear at 48 miles an hour. And it'll go into 6th gear under 40 if you're just cruising. But save mode is now actually usable. I can kind of go around town, and it's a good mode to be in. The crazy thing is, if I put this up into normal mode, I'm going 46 miles an hour, and it just downshifted to 5th gear. I'm sure you heard that. And it's only going to go to 6th gear if I go above 50 miles an hour. So right now, 51 miles an hour, and we're now in 6th. So I like how, if I'm in normal mode around town, it's slightly too aggressive, but not too crazy. It already downshifted to 5th, hitting the brakes. It'll go into 4th. So I think the name of this map being the optimized shifting, it does a really good job literally optimizing the shifting for normal mode. So with that said, let's go into race mode, put everything else into race mode, manual mode, valves on. We're at 67% ethanol content. Wow, holy crap, that was, man. The car is so much faster on E85. That is ridiculous. But the cool thing also, like you saw how I adjusted the clutch touch points and things like that, that allows it to have a little bit more pressure holding the gears in place, like it holds the clutches better and stuff like that. And with this transmission map, even me shifting myself, I feel like it's utilizing the power better. I was noticing not like clutch slippage or anything like that, but with the stock transmission tune, I just felt like in manual mode, a fast acceleration like I just did, sometimes the gears just wouldn't feel too crisp going into each gear. It almost felt like, I don't know, like an automatic just going into the next gear, the next gear. This way, in this optimized shifting map and adjusting the clutch touch points and things like that, the car feels a lot better as far as just holding the gear. So I'll do the same thing, second gear. Yeah, but much more responsive. Downshift, same thing. Yeah, definitely a big difference. I'm really liking that. So as far as power goes, the E85, I guess, is getting this engine well over 700 horsepower. The stock engine is 545. So E85, full bolt-ons, injectors, all that kind of good stuff. I'd say we're at least in the 700s. At the wheels, I would assume maybe 625 to 650. Not really too sure. And then I think my next tank of gas, once I'm closer to 80% for the ethanol content, I'll do more data logs, send them to Mike at AAM Competition, and he'll fine-tune them if needed and send me a new tune. But with that said, I'll probably go ahead and do a data log here just to make sure everything is still good. On the other one, when I was at 55%, I sent him a few logs. Everything was looking really good. But in order to fine-tune this, of course, we need to have the highest concentration possible. And then we'll basically take the two different tunes, the optimal tuning we've done for 93 octane before I fill it up. And then once this is up to 85% or so, we'll do the same thing. But car's running really good. I'm liking the transmission map a lot. We'll do another little blast. Goodness gracious. Oh, it's nuts how fast it is. Like, it literally just warps you into another dimension like that. It's ridiculous. Alright, so we will turn around so I'm not facing the sun. But right now I'm in save mode. Again, we'll kind of talk about that mode again. So I do like how the throttle response is a little bit lessened. It makes it easier to drive around town, because if I put it up into the normal mode now, the accelerator is much more touchy. You guys obviously can't really feel that on camera, but for me, like giving it half throttle, that was up to 70 miles an hour without even thinking, and that was just quarter throttling, like barely touching it. So the throttle is definitely touchier in this mode, and it seems to shift much better too. Like right now, we're going in 6th gear, we are at 54 miles an hour. If I just hit it half throttle, that went all the way down to 4th gear, and we got up to like 75. But the cool thing is, in save mode, we're now in 6th gear going much slower, and half throttle, it's still saying in 6th gear, it's not downshifting at all. So I like how it now takes the 3 different transmission driving modes and just makes them all very usable. Before, I never used save mode, like I said, and race mode was only for when I was in manual mode. So let's actually go into race mode in automatic. I'm not really used to doing that. So in this mode, giving it a little bit of gas, just like we saw in normal mode, it definitely shifts. But slamming the brakes, it downshifts much more aggressive. We're in 3rd gear. That is some gas. Definitely a nice difference. We'll keep that in manual mode, just too aggressive. Man. Yeah, the car is just crazy on E. It's literally ridiculous. But I just love how crisp the shifting feels now. Alright, so real quick, I have the hood popped. We're going to take a look at what the actual gauge on the interior says as far as ethanol content, just to double check with the Cobb. But it looks like it's right at what it was saying. We're at 67.2. So that is pretty sweet that we have two different gauges to see the ethanol content. And actually really cool, you can see the block valve open right now since we are just idling like that. I've never noticed that on this car because I never had the hood opened while the engine is running. But that is actually really cool. You can completely see into the turbo inlet pipe or the turbo charge pipe. That is super, super cool. All right, that is enough of the engine bay in the GTR. Let me go ahead and shut off the engine. And then one last thing I'm curious about for E85 on this car, I wonder if the rear end is gonna get a little bit less dirty. I actually washed the car yesterday, which is a first in a long time. This thing has been so filthy dirty. But the back end of this car gets so covered in black soot, and my blue exhaust tips get really, really wrecked. As you can see, it looks really good right now. But I wonder, I've been about 100 miles now since I washed it. The back end still looks perfectly good. I don't see really any black soot or anything. Maybe a little bit of road grime or something. The exhaust tips have a little bit of dirt on the inside, nothing too crazy on the outside just yet. But that will be interesting to see if the back end stays a lot cleaner. But I think that's about it then for today's video. Just a quick video updating the transmission tune on the GTR to better handle the power levels with the E85. For those of you with an R35 Nissan GTR running on flex fuel, comment down below what other upgrades have you done to accommodate the extra power. We're not maxing out the car yet. If I did custom tuning, I could probably squeeze a little bit more out of the car. But this is about it until I actually need to dive into the transmission and build it up a little bit. So I don't think I'm gonna go any more power than this. This setup is pretty darn good. You hit triple digits without even thinking, so I think that's good enough. So I think that's it then for today's video. If you enjoyed today's video, give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. Stay tuned for plenty more content to come. And I'll see you guys next video.